I'd like to introduce Anne from England, who takes LDN for multiple sclerosis. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning.
Could you tell us when you were diagnosed with MS?
I was officially diagnosed in 1980, but I'd had about 15 years before, and it just went away. And then sort of in 1980, I was diagnosed with MS.
Oh, right, okay. So what symptoms did you have, the 15 years prior?
Well, I kept losing my balance. That was one thing. And then I started dragging my right foot.
Mm-hmm.
It just wouldn't work properly. That's all I said. I'm falling apart at the seams. It turned out to be MS.
Okay. So what were your symptoms like by the time you were diagnosed?
Well, I'd had very little change. It was very, very slow, and I went into a hospital and they did a lumbar puncture, and as I said, I came out feeling far worse than when I'd gone in. Whether that was because I realised it was something very serious or not, I don't know. But my balance and my walking really went downhill over a matter of weeks. Mm-hmm. And then the consultant told me, yes, you've got MS. Mm-hmm. He did say, but if you've got to have it, at least you've got the better one to have of all of them. Thank you very much.
That was kind. So before you started LDN, if you had to rate your quality of life at that time on a score of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what would it have been?
Well, I would say it would be about a 7, deteriorating quite rapidly down to 4.
Right.
Because I've always sort of run everywhere, done everything, yoga, swimming, all sorts. Mm-hmm. And it was just going out of the window. Plus I got 2 children of 6 and 9 at the time. So mm-hmm. it was a big impact.
Mm. So when you first started to get these symptoms, Anne, how old were you?
Well, I would say I would be in my mid to late 30s.
Right, okay. And how did you hear about LDN?
It was an article in my local MS magazine, our local update, and it turned out there's a guy who lives a couple of 100 yards across the road from it. I didn't know because it's a main road, and I didn't know him. He just wrote an article singing the praises of LDN.
Yeah.
So I rang him, and things took it from there.
And were you able to get your own doctor to prescribe it, or did you have to get it private?
Oh yes, I went and saw my doctor. I ran off all the information from the LDN site, or not mm-hmm. all the information, the basic information on its impact on MS, mm-hmm. took it up to my doctor, who was very good. He read it and he said, you want to try it, you think it'll do you some good, here you are, and he gave me a private prescription.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yes, he was brilliant.
Yes. So when you started, how long ago was that now?
I can tell you exactly because it was 2003, and I started it just before we were due to go on holiday, and I started taking it in liquid form, mm-hmm. Which I couldn't really cope with messing around with the syringe and things because my fingers don't work very well on some days.
Yep.
So although I started in 2003 on liquid form, within 6 months I was on the capsules.
Oh right, yes. And when you first started, did you notice any introductory side effects?
Absolutely nothing at all. Nothing happened for the first 2 or 3 days, and then on about the 4th day I was walking up our drive on my husband's arm, walking to the car, and he suddenly said, "You're walking a lot better." And he noticed it immediately. I wasn't dragging on his arm so much. I was still using my stick, but I wasn't dragging on his arm so much. And he actually commented, and I thought, well, it's obviously working because I thought it was just me, wishful thinking.
Wow, that was very quick, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. 4 days, and I say touch, but I shouldn't say that. Thanks to LDN, I don't think I've looked back since,
Right. And what would you say your quality of life is now, Anne?
Well, I go out, weather permitting, bearing in mind I'm wearing slippers at the moment, mm-hmm. And I go out every day in my garden. I maintain all the flowers, and I've got some vegetables going. It's not a particularly big garden, but I do manage to get down. I can squat down and do the gardening, or sitting on a chair usually. Mm-hmm. And a couple of years ago, my son and daughter-in-law got married from here, and we had a reception for 90-odd people in the garden, and I helped paint all the fences and do everything. So although I'm slow at some things, I don't have to use, I don't have to, but I use a wheelchair for convenience as much as anything going outside. I find I'm doing really, really well, all things considered.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And if you rated it on a score of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what would you say the...
My quality of life? Yeah, I'd say I'm on an 8. I'm on a permanent high. People phone me up and say, I'm trying not to make you depressed. And I say, it will take more than you to make me depressed. You know, I just get on with life, and I thoroughly enjoy myself.
Well, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
And would you say LDN has helped lighten your mood?
Yeah, I've never... People comment, why are you always so cheerful? Well, my attitude is, I can't do anything about it. It won't go away. It won't improve with age, but get on with it. You know, what's the point of being miserable about things? So I won't say it is LDN, but certainly I'm always cheerful.
That's good. And what would you say to other people who are thinking of trying LDN?
Give it a go. You've nothing... Well, you've got maybe a few pounds to lose, and you've got nothing else to do. I've tried all sorts of things. I even went down the stem cell road. I spent £2,000 in preparation for that before it all blew up. But just for the sake of a few pounds, give LDN a try. And I certainly found it fabulous. And I continue to recommend it to anybody and everybody whose ear I can bend about it.
Well, thank you very much for spreading the word there, Anne, and long may your gardening continue.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.